Hey, what's going on guys? This is Kedar here, and today we have some really important information regarding the used EV tax credit, the California EV tax credit, and how much you will receive in the EV car tax credit. This one is the largest credit in the largest climate bill ever, and this one goes for $7,500 tax credit for electric vehicles. And also we will cover some of the electric vehicles, which vehicles could be covered, and there are lots of criteria to qualify for your particular electric vehicle, so you should check out this video till the end. Finally, the Senate has voted to pass this Inflation Reduction Act, which includes nearly $400 billion over 10 years in funding, and this is for the climate and energy related programs. And this is an extension and improvement of the US electric car tax credit, and the bill has passed with the vote of 51 to 50, with all the Democrats supporting, all the Republicans opposed, and Vice President Kamala Harris acting as a time-breaker vote. And now the bill goes to the House, where it is expected to pass within the week, then to the President Biden's desk. And with the Inflation Reduction Act, which is now trimmed down and rebranded version of the original Build Back Better proposal, which is stalled in the Senate due to the objections from all Republicans and Democrat Joe Manchin, and after much negotiation, Manchin finally agreed to a version of the bill that would allow it to pass despite the Republican opposition to necessary climate measures. This bill primarily focuses on climate issues, also includes significant corporate tax and prescription drugs and healthcare benefits, partially intended to chill the inflation over the next decade. And while the climate proportion of the bill represent $369 billion in spending, down from the $550 billion in the original Build Back Better proposal. And analysis show that the investment in the bill could put US on a target to reduce the emission between 31 to 44%, which is actually below 2005 levels, and this should happen by 2030. Well, President Biden's goal was to put the US on the target for 50% reduction by 2030, but this bill falls short on the goal, but it really brings us closer to the mark. And while the climate spending includes $60 billion for solar panel and wind turbine manufacturing and $30 billion in credits for new projects. Also, we got $60 billion for disadvantaged communities that bear in brunt of climate impacts, and we also got $27 billion for clean technology research and development, also $20 billion to reduce the agricultural emissions, and $5 billion for forest conservation, and $4 billion drought funding in the western states. Now, some of this funding will go to the carbon capture, which is likely to be necessary to reduce the atmospheric CO2 concentration, but it is also treated with some skepticism by climate advocates as the method of oil industry greenwashing. And while it also improves the fees on the excessive methane emissions, which falls short on being a carbon price, but it's nevertheless a good step forward towards reducing the emissions of the potent greenhouse gas. Also, there are several credits for home improvements, including heat pumps, induction stoves, electrical service upgrades, home battery storage, extension of rooftop solar credit, and of course electric car tax credit. So this one goes for the Tesla Powerball, the Tesla, the rooftop solars, and all that. Now, speaking of the electric vehicle tax credit, well, the significant proportion of this bill, which is $7,500 for an electric vehicle tax credit, which is renewed starting in the January 2023, and this will last a decade until the end of 2032. The previous tax credit has a cap of 20,000 cars per manufacturer, which is obviously a limit that Tesla and GM already surpassed a year ago, and Toyota just exceeded this quarter, and already other manufacturers are onto the track to surpass this number current year, so making this a timely change in the credit. And well, the new credit makes quite a lot of changes, in the largest of which is to remove the cap at the start of 2023, and now all the manufacturers will have access to unlimited credits as long as they fulfill the other requirements of the bill. Also, the tax credit can be applied upfront at the point of sale, and a purchase from a dealer rather than needing to file for it on your taxes in the following April, which is truly a welcome change that is long overdue. And now speaking of the most important, that is the new requirements. Well, these new requirements includes that car must be assembled in the North America and that materials and critical minerals in the battery must come from the US or country with a free trade agreement with the United States. And these requirements are intended for us domestic manufacturing and more diverse supply chains for EV materials, which are currently heavily reliant on the one country. Now, well, this means that we will have to wait and see which vehicles qualify for this new credit, and depending upon how the specifics of how these thresholds are counted, and the threshold increase year by year, so some cars might qualify for 1 year, then in the second year it might not, and surely the government will release these guidelines in the end by this year end, but the mineral and material guidelines don't go into effect until the 2024. Also, furthermore, in order to qualify, the vehicle must have an MSRP of under $55,000 for cars and $80,000 for SUVs and trucks, and otherwise they don't count, which leaving out several Tesla configurations and trucks like USA made Rivian, and buyers can only take advantage of the credit if they make under $150,000 a year, which will likely affect some of these higher end car buyers. There is also a provision that allows usage of the previous credit on a car delivered after the bill is effected if there is a valid purchase order signed in 2022 just before the President Biden signs the bill, which should happen in the next week or two. And most importantly, it will be even available on the used EVs with a tax credit of up to $4,000 on cars which are priced at $25,000 or less, and subject to a number of other requirements. And by the way, all of this applies additionally to plug-in hybrids as long as they fulfill the same requirements and have a battery over 7 kilowatts per hour. Now, speaking of some benefits of this one, if you have signed a purchase order or signed one before the Biden signs the bill, which means this week, and then have to wait for a delivery of an EV assembled outside the North America, you can still qualify for the current credit. And well, if you buy an EV assembled outside the North America after the bill is enacted but before the end of this year, well, in that scenario you may not get the current credit as the final assembly requirements goes into effect at enactment, but the mineral and battery materials required go into effect next year. So you need to see if you can get the signed purchase agreement before the bill is signed by the Joe Biden. And if you are buying a car that doesn't qualify for the current credit due to the manufacturer being over the cap, and you may get the new credit by waiting until the next year. And this is totally depending upon whether the car qualifies under the new manufacturing and MSRP rules, things like Chevy Bolt, but not a Tesla Model S. So it goes like that. And still it's unknown exactly which cars will qualify for how much credit, though we have some guesses on the Reddit, so I will go into that in a detail. So this is from a Reddit, Federal Clean Vehicle Tax Credit. It's unofficial, but let's take a look at it. These values are kind of estimated by cap values by the manufacturer, the vehicle cost, and the material sourced from the locations and other of such kinds. So you could say it's pretty close to the actual one. So according to the current US tax code, Tesla Model 3, Tesla Model Y, which is already exceeded the cap, Tesla is selling like a hotcake, but with the possible available rebate, you may get like $7,500 for pretty much all the popular vehicles you can see right over here. Speaking of the Rivian, chances are there are good chances we can get $7,500 tax credit, but the thing is, for Tesla Model S, Tesla Model X, the probability is very less because from where the battery material is acquired. Now things for sure, these cars will not get the credit, which is the Hyundai Nexo, Nissan Ariya, Toyota Mirai, also Toyota Prius Prime, Ferrari SF90 Straddle, then pretty much all the cars you see right below over here, which will probably not receive the credit because it's not assembled in the North America. Now for sure, we have to see whether Tesla Model S and Tesla Model X will cover all those things. Now one very important thing is Tesla Model S, Tesla Model X, and pretty much all the popular electric vehicles are manufactured in North America. Now, this is very essential to be applicable for this one. Speaking of the next thing, if you are buying a low priced used EV, then you might be able to save thousands of dollars if you wait until the January. Now, honestly, all this is hard to predict given the current status of the auto market, with both new and used car being supply constrained, and especially the EVs. With all the manufacturers building the new EV factories, we will have to check where the battery material is sourced from and whether the vehicles are manufactured in the North America, and some of the other aspects as well. Also, one thing you should note though, this tax credit would remain unchanged this year, but while much of the bills take effect next year, the domestic assembly requirement goes into effect immediately upon the enactment of the bill. So foreign made EVs will need to sign a purchase order before the time in order to qualify for the current credit. Now, we have seen a significant actions on the biggest problem humanity has ever caused. As long as the electric car tax credit solves the several of these problems, we have had to deal more than a decade. Availability of EV credits on used vehicles at the point of sale, and all this available to low earners rather than high earning ones, which is clearly a great step forward. But also there are some new other requirements which may leave some buyers out of luck. Overall, this should make the process much easier and more accessible for the EV buyers. So there it is guys, that's all about the $7,500 EV tax credit, one of the largest climate bill ever. Well, are you getting the benefit of this one? Do let us know in the comments down below. And for the latest updates regarding the tax credits, stimulus checks and all that, make sure to subscribe to our channel. It's totally free. Make sure to hit that like, share this video, subscribe to our channel, and this is Kedar from How To Guys signing out.